Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our high school hoops weekly recap show. Show number one for this season. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts, along with our special opening guest. It's our opening coach guest. As soon as we're done thanking, those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Capital Region Insurance Agency, Payor Apparel, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Robert H. Hoke, Post 272, American Legion, Crystal Bob at Iron Valley Real Estate, Hoffman Ford, Tonino's Pizza, and Sam Hartley Decking. Thanks to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area student athletes. I want to mention this upcoming. It's not this show in particular, but it's a Lingelstown Gazette Sports offering. And we're going to run this kind of on Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our non-sports podcast, This and That, the podcast. We have a special guest. To me, it's a special guest. And I've been waiting to talk to this guy, and I never knew if I could or not, if he would be willing to come on the show and join us. But how about that? Outgoing executive director from the PIAA, Dr. Bob Lombardi. He was supposed to actually come on, I believe, last week, and I was out. Yeah, last week, and I was out. Thanks, John. I had a surgery, and he wasn't able to do it. So he is gracious enough to reschedule, and we were looking at, I believe, the first or second week in January. But he's like, "Hey, man, I'm an open book, and you can ask me whatever you want." And he didn't care if the interview was while he's still in place or after he retires. And I believe he's stepping away the last day of this year. That's my understanding. So he's got a couple weeks left. But Dr. Lombardi will be joining us on an upcoming podcast, and I'm excited about that. So anyway, and I also want to mention, I've been out for a couple weeks, and I mentioned this. I don't want this to sound corny or, it is kind of a public. I want to reach out to men and women who love men, and I had a pretty major surgery a week and a half ago, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I was told that I had prostate cancer, and that's a tough nut, when you're seemingly very healthy, and I exercise a lot, I eat well, I feel great, and I ended up, and I'm not going to drag this out too much, but I had my prostate removed, and I'm happy that I have. But I just want to kind of try to connect it. I've been doing this for years with my friends because I'm not afraid of doctors. I don't like them, but I go to them. And had I not been going to my doctor regularly for annual blood work and whatever else that the doctors do, I wouldn't have known about this. There's no side effects. There's no pain involved. And men, go to the doctor. It seems like the two that we seem to contract the most are prostate and colon. And I had a good friend, Michael Payton, and I'm sure some of you guys remember Michael, was a quarterback at East High and then Marshall University. He died of colon cancer, and he was just a picture of fitness and health and strength. And so I'm just here to encourage you to, don't be afraid to go to doctors. Don't be lazy. Don't feel like it's not that important. And if it's a woman that you're watching here, kind of nudge your man, your boyfriend, your husband, a male friend of yours to do that. I just think that it's so important, and we can't figure this stuff out on our own, guys. Okay. You can't just walk down the street and say, I'm sick with cancer in a lot of
Joe,
cases.
I know you haven't introduced us yet, but my mom's a gastroenterologist. She did colonoscopies for 30-something years. She would definitely back that message.
Concur. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. You know what? Thank you, Dan. And I should have introduced you guys first, but I just wanted to kind of get that out. And I'm just saying, guys, don't be afraid to go get yourself looked at on a regular basis. So anyway, that is Dan Sostek from Penn Live, Patriot News. Do you still throw that Patriot News in there when you're talking about who you work for?
See, I don't use it because by the time I got there, it was really, the building says Penn Live, everyone says Penn Live, but sometimes you have to throw it out there when people don't recognize it. And then you say,
right.
They're like, oh, the Patriot. Yeah. So it's context based,
And then I come from the whole other extreme. I'm 59 years old, and I grew up reading the paper, the actual, of course, hardcover, and I had to kind of adopt the Penn Live and kind of pull it into my world because I was used to Patriot News. And then I have John Velios. He's what are you, John? Our boys basketball extraordinaire. Is that okay?
No, just boys basketball informationalist.
Okay, that's perfect. And then we have tonight is our special guest, Tigh Savercool, back in the saddle, coaching at Northern York High School, head coaching. Last year, he was our one of our panelists, panel of experts, and we haven't really replaced Coach Savercool. I was Coach, I was looking at this from kind of a sabermetrics approach. Like, we didn't have to replace you per se, but we had to replace your contributions and your knowledge. And I don't know how we're going to do that, man. So you did a great job. You were with us all last year, and I know you'll be on again, as just to hang out a little bit. But so thanks for what you did last year, and best wishes. And that's what we're going to jump into right now. You're over at Northern York, and I'll get things going here. And how did that happen? I know you were kind of enjoying being away from coaching. You were still around the game enough. You have friends that coach, and you go out and watch a game here and there. You were on our show on every Sunday night, but I know you well enough to know that you weren't like chomping at the bit to get back into coaching. How did that happen? That now you're back on the bench with Northern York?
Yeah, I mean, it was just an opportunity that kind of fell in my lap of something to consider, and I always knew that there had to be certain characteristics that, boxes had to be checked in order for me to kind of come back out of coaching retirement. And, after, consideration and looking into it, I felt Northern York was one of those opportunities to pursue and build back up, the program into something that I think can make some waves in the area. So, it was just something that in May came about and moved pretty quickly. Really, really quickly. It was a span of about 48 hours, and we got to it. So
it's a great sports school. It really is. A little bit more. Give me some space here of a girls' sports school, okay? And it happens that way sometimes. I think Central Dauphin's a little bit more of a girls' sports school. That doesn't mean they don't have really good boys' sports too, but I think you landed at a school that cares about sports and has really good programs. You must have a good AD over there, because these things don't happen by osmosis, that you have all those successful sports programs without having somebody leading the way, So let me just ask one more question, and we'll kind of turn it over and round robin it here. Have you been able to implement your kind of, I don't know what you call it, if there is a name, your bonding, your life skills activities with this team? Just to let people know what I'm talking about. It seemed like every year, I don't know, was it every year that you'd have
we would do something? Yeah,
I remember you had Chef Andre teaching the boys how to cook one year, and I think you did something with working on cars.
Dining etiquette.
Dining etiquette. So, have you guys had a chance to do that yet, or?
Car emergencies is this year, so we're lucky. Obviously, everyone drives past Bob Ruth Ford. That's right there on 15. So they are going to be doing something with us here in the near future for car emergencies, jump starting a car, changing a tire, things like that. That I don't even know how to do, but I think it'll be something beneficial that they can take with them long term. It's bigger than basketball.
So you're not replacing transmissions or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Dan Sostek, Penn Live, want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to have Tigh back in there. It was funny, Tigh, before even our meeting, he was probably one of the first coaches to reach out and make sure that he's on every mailing list, because he said he wanted to, stay on our good side, which not many coaches care about. So I really appreciate that. And obviously, Tigh's record as a head coach speaks for itself, and seems like they're already doing great things at North.
7 very good seasons at Cedar Cliff.
Yeah, and already off to a good start in Northern. It was interesting because when he took over that job, that was a team that made the playoffs last year and had some real good seniors on the team. But I didn't know what this roster is going to look like this year, because I know they had Luke Lehman, whose sister Anna was one of the best overall athletes in the area the last handful of years. I think she played like 7 different sports, but
Yeah.
it was a team that had a lot of younger guys that were kind of rotation players, but you never know what they're going to look like when they step into those bigger roles. And it seems like, I'm sure there's still a process of figuring all that out, but it seems like it's off to as good of a start. I know outside of being undefeated or whatever, it's about as good of a start as you can possibly have.
Yeah, we're old, but we're inexperienced. So pretty much play all juniors, seniors, but only 2 players that actually have varsity experience. Last year, Lehman was a returning starter for us. So we are inexperienced. So our season success, I've kind of told the kids multiple times, is a race to maturity of how quickly we can kind of get up to speed with handling adversity and growing through the ups and downs of the season. I mean, even in 5 games, we've already ridden a roller coaster of games and situations and scenarios that these guys are just new to. We got our butts kicked old-fashioned way on Friday night down at Greencastle because we were really high off of winning on Wednesday against Waynesboro because we got obsessive over beating the quote-unquote preseason number 1. And that just comes with the inexperience of guys have to learn to compartmentalize and just move on to the next game. And for us, we did not. And we got off the bus thinking, we were going to walk into Greencastle and it'd be easy. And they said otherwise. So some of those growing pains we're going to go through. We are definitely good enough to beat anyone any given night. We're also inexperienced enough that we could lose on any given night if we don't have the right mindset. So we're just trying to kind of drill that into the guys night in, night out. John
Velios?
Coach, yeah, congratulations on, getting the job and great start to the year. Like you said, 3-2. So this is your second head coaching position, right, Coach?
Third.
So tell us, where were you at before Cedar Cliff?
Tulpehocken for 2 years.
Okay. And I watched you coach Cedar Cliff from sort of the beginning to the end, and you really turned that program around. I mean, the first couple of years you lost some games, right? And then as the years went on, you kept having more and more success. District playoffs and winning a couple games. Have you set any goals for the guys this year? I don't know the history of Northern York. Do they have any district championships in the past? Can you let us know a little bit about that?
So Coach McGill, who was there before Coach Laudenslager, who's the coach that I'm replacing. Coach Laudenslager was there for 4 years. So Coach McGill had a really good stretch of talent and success. They were, I believe, the 2021 season in that ballpark. They may have been undefeated in the regular season and then lost in district playoffs, I believe, early, may have gotten upset, but that group was really good. I mean, Coach McGill's son, Kyle McGill, was a Division I player at Stonehill College, and so they had some success prior. Last year, I think, was the first year in the 4 years that they had made districts. So for us, 5A is a little bit of wide open. I think 6A is very competitive and very strong. There's just a drop off in 6A after you get to a certain threshold. 5A is a lot more wide open. So, for us, obviously we want to get in the districts and we want to build on that and get experience. But, we will see because, every night I still just don't know what type of team we're going to be every night until we kind of get some experience under our belts.
Right. Do you guys feel like a unit yet? I mean, it's been a couple of months now. You guys, are you fully acclimated with one another as teammates, as player to coach to player? You guys feel like one unit?
Yeah, the kids are great. I mean, they all get along. Chemistry is a non-issue at all. It's really it's a lot of habits that we're trying to build, championship level habits that I think we're setting a standard of all right, this is what we have to do for what we expect of ourselves, which is to win some district playoff games, qualify for states, all of that good stuff. And I think, honestly, a lot of Northern's mentality is, how can we compete in the Colonial Division? And to me, that's not good enough. I want to compete with Hershey. I don't want to compete with, the rest of the Colonial Division, because if we can set our bar to, let's do what Hershey does, because they are the bar in District 3 5A. If we can set our standard there, we will handle our business within the division and then more.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does seeing a team like what a team like Hershey did last year, is that encouraging for, because we hear every week covering basketball about the public-private stuff and everything like that, but we all watched that game. They were right there with Newman Goretti for a state title game, and they're right there. They were playing close games against Mechanicsburg and Milton Hershey and all the other teams in the Keystone Division, like throughout the regular season. Is that kind of not a rallying cry, but has that sort of lifted up some sales, you think, about that kind of message about thinking bigger than just Central PA?
Yeah, I mean, 5A it's wide open. It's just a whole different world. I mean, you've got a much smaller enrollment window there from like the bottom of 5A to the top of 5A, because 6A, you've got the bottom of 6A has 500 students up to 2,000. So, yeah. I mean, it's just it's a whole different game. And so I think the allure of 5A and what you can potentially do if you get the right pieces together and get them on the same page, I mean, that certainly was one of the draws, to take the job at Northern.
Yeah.
Do you guys have,
especially after Cedar Cliff, right, where you guys had to play probably one of the smaller 6A schools, I imagine. That's always a tough draw for you.
Yeah, guys. I mean, we always said, I mean, that group in 2022 that we had, I mean, we were one of the smallest in 6A and arguably one of the best teams in school history. And I really think we squeezed all the juice out of that lemon. We got to the district semis, we meet Reading High, gave them a good fight. We get into state playoffs. I mean, ultimately that was kind of the peak of what Cedar Cliff could accomplish. And, cause it's tough, the 6As, it's a challenge. It's a whole different world.
Kind of the stars have to line up. You have to
get the smaller ones.
You have to get the athletes in that small window and then stay healthy. And so we see what's happening over there. I think Scott Wine is one of the best girls basketball coaches I've ever seen, and he doesn't have quite the athletes, the players now. I can guarantee you this: he's going to get as much or more out of those girls he has now, like he did before he had Olivia Jones and his daughter and some of those other. But you have to be fortunate. The players have to be there. They have to be on the same page. You guys were going toe-to-toe with any team in the area back then. Team.
I mean, you look at Central York last year. They ran through pretty much all of District 3, right? And then, they run into a team that is basically played 500 basketball the whole year and just runs them out of the gym. I mean, that's just the lay of the land in 6A. Mm-hmm. And that was a really good Central York basketball team, I think, too.
I walked out of the gym that night with my mouth hanging open. The night they lost that.
That team didn't even win the state title.
No.
Yeah.
No, they were.
So, Coach, you got 5 games in already. You guys played in a tournament to start the season?
We did not. We're not in a tip-off or Christmas.
Okay. Do you have a tournament lined up for like Christmas holiday week?
We have a stretch from December 22nd to January 5th where we don't play a game. We just completed playing 4 games in 7 days, which was quite a gauntlet. And now this week we got 3 more: Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this is kind of a little bit of a stretch. We just kind of got to stay healthy as we can and get through the 22nd. And then, we'll have some time to kind of, refocus and reset.
Who do you have this week?
Tomorrow we have Shippensburg, Wednesday's Gettysburg, Thursday's Elizabethtown, and then East Pennsboro on the 22nd before Christmas.
Who are do you have any kind of, I think they use the term natural, like natural rivalry, geographical rivalry, just the team that you guys have gone toe-to-toe with over the years? I don't know when it comes to Northern.
Within Northern, it's kind of, there's not a division rival. It's Mechanicsburg, just because they are neighboring. So that is the rival game. When we play them, it's a girls-boys doubleheader. It's the whole, everything. So it is the Mechanicsburg game.
And that's a good girls matchup too, probably on an annual basis.
Don't sleep on the boys. Don't sleep on the boys team this year. I was at that Hershey game this week. Mike Gaffey's doing a great job with that group. They played Hershey, had a chance to tie the game at the end of regulation.
On the road, or no, it was at home. It was at home, yeah.
Yeah. That boys team's going to be a tough out. Again, they're one of those teams though that plays 5A in the regular season and then has to shift up to 6A come playoff time. So that's kind of probably where their challenge is going to be. But they're going to be a tough out in the Keystone Division too.
So let's wrap up with this, and then Coach Savercool is going to stick with us for our next segment. There'll be 3 segments tonight. The next one will be what we call outside the lines, kind of housekeeping stuff, and then John and Dan and I will break down the divisions after that. Coach, I know that you like to get a little festive around the holidays, right? You know where I'm going, right? Though,
Yeah.
Okay. Have you gone into your wardrobe and prepared your outfit for coaching over the holidays? First of all, I like that a lot. I like it just because I like it, period, as an outfit, as a suit. But I like the fact that you like to be fun and go out there and have the courage, I guess, for the PG term, the courage to go out there and have some fun. So are you going to be able to do that this year? Or is this a surprise?
Last home game before Christmas, so the East Pennsboro game on the 22nd. There is a new Christmas suit. So
a new one. All right. So
yep. I have the new one, so it would be 8 of them. So I have now 8 Christmas suits in my closet.
Wow.
7 have been worn. The 8th one will be rolled out this year.
What's going on there? Not the suit. What are you thinking there? Like man, I got all dressed up tonight, and he's going to make that call.
Someone probably bailed on a charge or missed a layup.
Greg Foltz. I don't know if you know Greg Foltz. He wanted me to ask you about your suit. So that's it. Thank you for the chat and thank you for sticking around with us. And again, I think we called this housekeeping last year, and I got a little bit more creative, or it's not much more creative, but it has to do with sports now. Outside the lines. And Dan and John, this is going to be things that have to do with basketball, with high school basketball, but not necessarily, wins and losses and statistics and what have you. So let's where is this? Okay. The first thing let's talk about, it's official. The shot clock. It's a 35-second clock. It will start the 27-28 season, Coach? And Dan, you guys both. I'm
20,
sure you
29, I think.
28-29.
28-29.
Current freshmen will be seniors when it's rolled out.
And I sit in. There's a monthly PIAA media meeting that Dr. Bob Lombardi hosts for, of course, the media. And it's I'll tell you what, it's great the way they do it. They're very kind of transparent about things. And one of the media members asked him a few months ago, why are they waiting so long? And, he said, look, we want to give people, not everybody wanted to do this. And for some of them, it's money. It's going to cost them $5,000, $10,000. If you have 2 gyms and you're running games that you need a shot clock in both gyms for either, tournaments or is JV included in this?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. So he's like, we want everybody, even the folks that aren't liking this or aren't prepared for this, to have time to prepare. So there will be a little bit of a kind of a grace period, I guess we could call it. But let's start with you, Coach, because you do coach, and is it going to make much of a difference?
I mean, I think over the 32 minutes, you might see 5 situations where you kind of run into it. For the most part, most possessions end before 30 seconds anyway. I mean, people are getting shots to the rim after 10 to 15 seconds in a half-court set for the most part. So I think it's going to be like 5 to 8 situations over the course of the whole game. I mean, it will make it exciting, though, because it does add pressure to a possession. And, anytime a player sees less than 10 seconds on a clock, whether it be the game clock or the forthcoming shot clock, it adds pressure and it adds excitement to the game, where we now have opportunities for more buzzer beaters, so to speak. So I think that's exciting for the game, even for fans. John,
I'll bring you in. You guys all have like 3 completely different roles, media member, and I know you're all fans of the game too, but John, you're more of just like a fan now, and of course, Coach is a coach. But do you ever watch the games now that they've been talking about this and wonder how much of a change it's going to make?
Oh, of course. I think people have been talking about this for many years and in many different situations. You know, Obviously it's gonna, make a game more competitive towards the end of the game, especially when you got a lead now, and you're playing, to burn the clock. You're not gonna be able to do that in a couple years. So, it's going to put pressure, like Coach is saying, on both teams, basically, because you're going to have to be ready for that, to get that shot off and get a good shot off that might win the game or lose the game for you.
I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter about those first 28 to 30 seconds. It's how prepared is your team to spend those last 5 to 7 seconds, right, Coach? To make a quality end of possession out of those last 5 to 7 seconds.
Yeah, just overall game awareness of the situation for players. I mean, that'll be an adjustment for them, but it'll be an adjustment for coaches. Like even John said, the end of a quarter or end of a game, if there's 45 seconds left and it's a foul type situation. Right now, if you're down 2 or 3 points, you're fouling, trying to get the ball back. If you got a shot clock that's 35 seconds, you still have a possession if you get that defensive rebound.
Right.
So two for ones too, right?
Yep, and you got 2 for ones. Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think, Dan?
Well, I'm glad to have a little bit of a platform to talk, because I've been kind of driven crazy over the last few years about the people who haven't wanted to implement this. And I get their arguments, that's going to be expensive and it's going to be hard to teach people how to, kind of the actual game manager people to use the shot clock. But my counter is that this is already in place in 30 other states, I believe. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania has historically been, with the Philadelphia schools and everything, one of the top producers of talent in the country. It's used in, college. It's used in AAU basketball. It's used at JUCO levels. They're able to figure it out at a JUCO game that probably has 10 people in the stands and not as many parents available to be volunteers and learn how to use the shot clock. It's also just something that the players are going to have to get used to at the next level. So I've never understood why there was so much hesitancy to kind of help the players who are getting the next level have even more game reps with a shot clock. I think it's going to improve the end of the game stuff tremendously, because I just have never been a fan of the hand the ball and kind of pass it around for 2 minutes to kind of drain the clock down to create the foul game when there's still 3 minutes of clock left, because that's like when basketball doesn't necessarily feel like basketball to me. So what is there a chance that it's kind of rough to start? I think absolutely. I think in fact it's probably likely there's going to be some issues with it, but football teams are able to figure out how to use the play clock, right? And there's issues with the play clock all the time. There's issues with timing in every sport all the time. The referee just has to pay attention, blow the whistle, figure it out. Mm-hmm. I think if you don't make these kind of sweeping changes and just kind of say it's too hard, then the game kind of stays a little frozen. And, high school basketball is already kind of, I'm not going to it, but it's, people have such a focus on AAU, such a focus on everything. I think that anything to kind of make the high school product more exciting and more watchable, I think is a net positive. And I'm excited that it's finally coming. And again, like Tigh said, I don't think it's going to impact that much of the game, but I think that when it impacts the game, I think it'll create a lot more intrigue. And, at the end of games at a state championship game, you're thinking about 2 for ones. You're thinking about fouling. You have all these different wrinkles, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. And I think it's smart to give the lane to 28-29 so you can give the teams chances to get ready to use it. But I'm excited to see it. I think it's, I don't know, overdue is the right word, but when 30 other states are doing it, Pennsylvania should probably be involved.
I'm old enough once again to remember basketball at all levels without a shot clock. Okay. Yeah. And I don't remember one team or one program, if it was NCAA, or not being able to stay as good as they were, or not improving or getting worse. The shot clock never made a team better or worse. Everybody has to deal with the same thing.
It's basketball. You're playing basketball. Right. Like that's what Tigh said. It's like one of the reasons they chose that number is because I think it was like they looked at, possessions, or like this is how long kind of a long possession will go around 24 to 35 seconds. So it's like you're playing basketball. It's not like you have to come up with a completely new playbook because you have 30 seconds instead of unlimited time.
We're not going to hear like, oh man, that team was so good before the shot clock, So anyway, there we go. We got a 35-second shot clock coming up in a couple years, 3 years, something like that.
3 years,
3 years, yeah. So how about new coaching hires? We'll start with the Commonwealth. Central Dauphin replaced Coach Wayne Fletcher with Coach Seth Leonard. Seth Leonard is a York County guy, played in York County, was an assistant coach in York County. I think he was a head coach for 1 season, if I'm not mistaken, but all in York County. And he got the job over a couple other guys. I don't think there was any kind of like slam dunk decision there. I think they really were kind of painstaking about it, and they did have a couple other good candidates. But at the end of the day, it's Coach Seth Leonard, and we did interview Coach Leonard, a full length, like an hour interview when he was hired. What was that, 6-8 weeks ago? So if you guys want to go into our archives, you can find that. So Dan, have you had a chance to meet Coach Leonard?
Not yet. I'm trying to get out to the Central Dauphin game early this week because I imagine they're going to be one of our premier teams. Again, they're in 6A, so you really got to battle. But I think Wayne left him a pretty good cupboard of talent there. If you're ever going to take a coaching job, I think you probably want to take that Central Dauphin job with not just really talented players, but a lot of players, guys like the Starling brothers that are going to be there for a couple more years too. But it's still the Commonwealth division though. I tweeted that triangle at the top of the Commonwealth when you have Central Dauphin, Cumberland Valley, and Chambersburg. I don't care who's on those rosters. It just feels like every game is going to come down to a last-second shot or something. So
East High stuck around with them, and I know the final score was high. They might have won by 20, but John, you and I think were texting while that game was. East High stuck around with
Elijah Cooper's a really good player. He'll keep in a lot of games.
Yeah. So, nothing's ever a foregone conclusion. We all know that. We're sports guys, but you'd rather be in his position than the position of some other coaches. That's for sure. Nothing in the Keystone that I'm aware of. No coaching changes. The Capital, three new coaches. McDevitt, kind of an old coach being new again. Jim Rao. Out of retirement. He was going to Coach Savercool. This was going to be his first year on the bench, right? Or assistant coach.
No, he was an assistant last year.
Was he an assistant? Okay. All right. But wasn't planning on being a head coach this year. And he took Jason Grace's spot, who was there for 2 seasons. And, Jim Rao knows the game. He's a friend of yours, right, Coach?
Yeah. I replaced him at Cedar Cliff.
Okay. Yeah. He knows the game. That's for sure. So, and I think McDevitt's going to be maybe even a little better than people had anticipated.
Well,
so
they have all this core from team last year. They actually played eventual state champ Devon Prep really tough in the first round.
They certainly did.
They lost Amir Arp to Harrisburg, but they have Kenyon Porty Jr., who's been really good for them so far this year. And then Ethan Hammer and Pat Danisco have been really solid players for them. That's another division that that Capital division. There's a bunch of really good teams there.
Yeah.
They're a team that I think could be in the state playoff bracket if things go right.
And then we have Steel High, Jeremy Buzz Cable. No head coaching experience. He took the place of Rashad Macon. I remember watching Buzz Cable when he was about 4. He would, on the national level, he'd be on shows dribbling like 6 basketballs when he was 4 years old.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a prodigy. And he was on a state championship team at Steel High too. I don't remember which one, like 05 or one of those back 2000, but he's a tried and true to the bone Steelton guy. And they seem to like to hire down there their own people. So we'll see what happens there. I know that there is a little bit of a buzz about Buzz and about about this year's team. So, and then Susquehanna Township, Kenneth Stone, his 2 head coaching experiences, as far as I know, are Central Penn College and Thaddeus Stevens. Do I have that right? Anybody know?
Yeah,
and he took the place of Avery Cloud, and Coach Cloud, man, there was some excitement over there last year.
Well, do you know who's on Kenneth Stone's coaching staff now?
Jihad Proctor.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting.
I watched them play the other night. Trinity kind of handed it to them.
Yeah.
It was kind of rough and then the last one is he truly needs no introduction. Northern York coach Tigh Savercool taking the place of Coach Steve Loudenslager. So that's it. We got, what's that? There's like 6 or 7 coaching changes. There always are some, and so we wish all these coaches well. I know it's time for excitement, and anytime you have a new opportunity like that, it's got to be a big deal. I would imagine. I'm not a coach. I haven't been a coach, but and then how about this one? Big Spring and James Buchanan. This is just kind of a reminder. This is their last season in the Mid-Penn.
It's a real shame about Big Spring because
I know.
I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch Landon Sally, but he's going to be a really, really fun player to watch the next few years. And it's kind of a shame we're not going to get to see him, as a junior and senior going up against Trinity and Susquehanna Township and all these teams. His brother is obviously great. He's a lot different than his brother. His brother was more of a post guy who could shoot, kind of a stretch 3-4-ish type guy.
His brother would back you down. I mean, he wasn't like a really tall kid, but he was strong, and he played a different style.
Aiden was a very typical, like a very like high school basketball. Like I think he ended up not even. I believe he went to Richmond just as a student. I don't think he's playing on a scholarship level or anything, even though he was an all-state level player. But Landon's a lot. He's much more of a pure guard. I think he had a big summer this year in EYBL, and I think he opened the year with like a 43-point game. So it's a real shame with him. And James Buchanan's kind of one of those don't end the year with a lot of wins. But if, like Tigh said, if you don't go into that game with the right attitude, they can still beat you. So it's a shame. There's always some rumors. There might be 1 or 2 more that could be out the door, but as of now, it's just those 2.
The rumor I've heard, and I mentioned it during the football show a couple months ago, is it's a rumor at this point, but it came from a somewhat good source. Central York maybe coming up to the Mid-Penn.
They've wanted it for
at some point.
They've wanted it for a long time.
It would make so much sense. I mean, they're not that far away, and they just dominate in everything. Boys, girls. I mean, from tiddlywinks up to boys basketball.
Susquehanna also makes a lot of sense for just geographically trying to get into, the spot James Buchanan kind of held, because they're just so close to so many of the teams. And they're really good in the girls' sports. Boys' sports, I think, would be a little more of an uphill battle. But
you're right. Susquehanna has really good girls' sports. Yeah. So that's it. That's
I think for whenever the realignment and everything that's going on with the new one for boys basketball, there's going to be 8 teams in the 3 divisions: Commonwealth, Keystone, Colonial, and then Capital's going to only have 6.
Right.
And Susquehanna Township's coming to the Colonial. West Perry's going back to the Capital.
These are all based on enrollment numbers, by the way. I think people tend to get upset because you lose kind of the sexy value, like, oh, those teams they're neighbors, geographic neighbors, or they've been going toe to toe with one another for decades. That stuff's not meaningful when it comes to aligning these divisions, right, Coach?
Enrollment classification plays a huge part. I mean, they do, when you start getting multiples, some bleed over of 6As. Now, the Keystone previously was like just Cedar Cliff at 6A. Now the Keystone next year is going to be like half 6A, because Lower Dauphin moves up to 6A in boys basketball, and joining Cedar Cliff and Mechanicsburg and Mifflin County. So there is a factor of classification, but there's also geographics. Like, you got Waynesboro, who's like, an outlier 6A that's in the southern tier of the Mid-Penn. They're playing in a division of all 5As in the Colonial. So, they're at a little bit of a disadvantage, trying to get into districts.
Okay. So, boy, we're squeezing every last ounce out of Coach Savercool's visit here tonight. I appreciate you sticking around.
Sure.
And then the last thing, and we're going to kind of be vague about this, okay? But there's kind of a major transfer, boys basketball transfer in the Mid-Penn, more specifically in the Commonwealth. And I'm not going to name the player's name, and it hasn't been official yet. And I'm not going to name the teams that are involved. we're going to use this as kind of an outside the lines topic, like we do, and talk about these transfers. They become more and more common, more and more popular. And some of them are for great reasons, and they just have to be that way, and others not so much. And it's really not for me or any of us to judge what's a good reason and what isn't. But the two schools that are involved, I don't think either of the schools have done anything wrong. They've stepped out of line. These are schools that are friends with one another. They're friendly rivals. The athletic departments are friendly with one another. They have a really good, like, healthy rivalry in all kinds of different sports. And it's the kind of transfer that you typically don't see. I mean, we see a lot of them, Dan. You cover this for a living. We see a lot of transfers, but this one is kind of atypical, I think. We're right now, this situation is right now in that 21-day period where after the transfer, the player, the student athlete has to sit out. But we're going to be able to talk about it more coming up. But I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about, the transfers themselves. And because there's so many, it's a cloud when it comes to people understanding. Sometimes it can be me, and I do this for a living. John, you and I have been talking about this for years, and we do try to be smart about it, John, when we discuss it. It's not, it's nothing to get angry about. You figure out, first of all, it's not my kid. It's not any of our kids, but it's just kind of the hard facts that sometimes this happens. And, but we're looking at a player here who might be able to play, the rest of the season, and then this postseason coming up, and he's only a junior. But with a transfer, you sit out 21 days if it's in season. In season is after the first official practice, right, Coach?
Yes.
That's when season starts. Student is ineligible for games or scrimmages for 21 calendar days after enrolling at the new school. So that the 21 days starts enrollment day. My understanding is that the student has, and there's actually two. There's two different students, but they are enrolled, and it's within that 21-day period. If the student transfers after 50% of the regular season games are complete, which we're nowhere near that, they are then ineligible for postseason. After 50%, if they transfer after 50%, they're considered to have played the whole season. I just think, and it's not always a case of the rich getting richer. You're asking a group of players that have been together for a while to bring in a player that, man, this guy's a high level player. I think he's an all-state player. I really do. And I'm not trying to, but does anybody, Dan, you cover these. I don't think you guys do a whole lot when it comes to transfer. You could see I'm kind of dancing on eggshells here.
Yeah.
You guys don't at Penn Live. You don't really talk about, in this week's transfer news, right?
I mean, we've talked about doing it before, but it's
interesting. It is interesting. People want to know about it,
But there have been some situations where you hear a player has transferred and then you find out that they don't. So you kind of want to wait till you actually see them out on the court and you see them out on the team roster, and until they're listed as a team, you don't want to just go off of what you like for instance, at Harrisburg when Masai Mickens and Dante Sheffy had transferred into Harrisburg, the way we confirmed that was that they were listed on Harrisburg's track and field roster.
Right. That's a confirmation.
We received the copy of their roster, and that's when you can kind of go about it. And when they're big names like that, you kind of report on it. But when it's kind of in this waiting game, you kind of want to wait for it to be official. I know the player you're talking about is not on the program. I've confirmed he's not on the program that he's on last year. So that's definitely the case. But I mean, when it's a big name, you kind of have to kind of make a whole new story out of it. So I'm sure people will find out. A lot of people probably know who we're talking about. But
your cohort, Brian Linder from Penn Live, he says we do report transfers when we can actually verify them.
Yeah, that's basically
it can actually be tricky to pin down the in the off season if the coach and player won't comment. So
Yeah.
that's fair enough. You guys aren't a rag. Is that what they call them in the business? You're not a rag. You're a reputable media outlet, source of information. So, Coach, have you ever lost a player that way, where he was kind of part of your plans, and the next thing you know, he wasn't, and you guys, and you didn't do anything for it to initiate it? You know,
I've had it go both ways. I've lost a player. We've had transfers come in. People move into the district. I've had an in-season transfer once come into Cedar Cliff from another school. So yeah, I mean, it happens. It's just, from a coach's standpoint, it's, hey, when you're in the district and you're enrolled, we can talk to you and put forth a game plan, and that's that.
Like we reported when Justin Hauser transferred from Cedar Cliff to Phelps School. So when something like that happens, and Justin and his family will comment on it, and obviously he's a guy with a Penn State offer, that makes it a bigger deal too. Then you write about it. So
okay, well, I think we're gonna finish it up there. So, Coach Savercool, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're always welcome. We look forward to you and all your regalia, your new suit. Make sure if I'll try to get over there, but if I can't, somebody's going to get a photo, right?
I'm sure we have a local community guy that comes to all of our games and posts photos. So
we need something for locker room fodder around here at the Orchard Street studio. Coach, well, best wishes, good luck, and we always appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Good luck, Coach.
Thanks.
Northern York first-year head coach Tigh Savercool. Always a great guest. John, what are we going to do without him?
We'll survive.
And I'm not saying you're chopped liver, John. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, Coach.
We can only
Coach
bring
always,
Dan in every now and then. He's got a real job.
Yeah, we got to force Dan into this weekly.
No, I don't. I stay away from that. And Dan will tell you.
If the Patriots keep playing like they did in the second half today, I'll be willing to spend Sundays not watching them.
That was rough.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
So, yeah, let's just jump into this. And I don't really have it. Doesn't have to be real organized or real kind of follow any kind of guidelines or we're just going to go through like Commonwealth, Keystone, Capital, Colonial. Look at just for craps and giggles. This is what happened last season. How you like that, John? Just made that up today.
That's pretty good.
How about it? Our winners last season were the Capital was Trinity, of course. It usually is. Colonial was Middletown. I think it was Middletown's first year in the Colonial. The Commonwealth, Central Dauphin, and Cumberland Valley shared the title, officially shared the title, but Cumberland Valley swept them, so they got to represent the Commonwealth in the Mid-Penn Conference tournament. And then in the Keystone, of course, it was Mechanicsburg. And then Cumberland Valley ended up beating, I believe it was Mechanicsburg and Trinity, Dan, to win the Mid-Penn Conference tournament. So, and then, you know what? I forgot to show this at the top of the show. That's our new logo. How's that look, guys?
Good basketball logo.
I designed that. I wanted the orange to have like a little bit of a red look to it, like just because it's hot, that kind of. So that's it. That's and then my friend Deanna over at FedEx Kinko's or whatever they're called now, she does all my work. She kind of put it together. So let's start with the Commonwealth. And Dan, I said this, regardless of that conversation that we just had about a possible transfer, and regardless of how loaded Central Dauphin is, with all these athletes and guys with experience, you never count Dave Espignani out.
No,
you never count Sean Schreffler out. You know what I mean?
And they both had another thrilling game.
Oh my!
Overtime game. I was at the Hershey Mechanicsburg game, but that's what kind of prompted my tweet. Is that these guys they're just those are two real bona fide pro. I was surprised. I remember talking to some people when I first got here, and I just assumed that Cumberland Valley was always kind of this sort of power program, and when I dug more into it, kind of getting this job, it's like the job that he has done at that program to kind of turn it into a premier program. When obviously they have a lot of resources, right? They're a huge school, but I don't care. Whenever you turn a program that isn't consistently great at basketball into a program that's consistently great at basketball, that's pretty impressive to me. So,
Dan, it's not just Cumberland Valley. Like Central Dolphins was the same way, and me and Joe go back a long time here, and both Central Dolphin and Cumberland Valley, neither one of them really focused on boys basketball. I mean, they had multiple years of going. How bad, Joe? Like they might go win 4 or 5 games in a year.
I think they were 1-20 6-7 years ago, right before.
Yeah, that's what was shocking to me last year, getting ready for the district title game, was just seeing because again, I've been here this is my 5th basketball season. Since I've been here, Central Dolphins been a premier program, Cumberland Valley's been a premier program. You kind of lose a little sight of, and then like I also know Devin Thomas was a major star, and all those kids, like, you know, so in my head I was like, oh, Central Dolphins always been a power. Then you look at they barely ever made district championship games.
Right.
That was a brief window. The Devin Thomas era was like, that was it, you know.
Yeah. So I mean,
maybe 3-20, by the way, guys.
I mean, a lot of these divisions you can say that about a lot. Like, I think the Mid-Penn is really blessed with. I always love my interactions with a lot of these basketball coaches. For my money, I think they're some of the best coaches of any sport in the area. Commonwealth, obviously, I think. Especially with Wayne stepping down, you have to put Vespignani, you got to put Schreffler, and other
Dolly's a really good coach.
I was gonna mention that. He's had a lot of turnover the last few years too. He's a tremendous coach as well. So
yeah, for sure.
And you used to have Kirk Smallwood, obviously, with his teams there. It's just a really fun group of teams that could watch, because you know that they're always going to play that style of basketball where they're going to have a chance in every single game.
I think Wayne Fletcher grew up, and I'm not saying from a boy to a man, or none of that at all. I'm saying he improved as a coach over those however many years he was, and I think he'll admit that, you know, that those guys made him better, you know, and he coached against a lot of other really good teams and coaches too. But it's a loss, you know. The area basketball is a loss without Wayne Fletcher for sure. But you guys had, when I say you guys, I use your rankings, and you know, Epler does the statewide football rankings.
Let me just use this time to mention, it's not our rankings. It is a survey of the coaches.
Yeah. Okay. But
not determined.
It's not the same as Epler when he does the football stuff, which he does get help with other. Okay. So thank you. Thanks for clearing that up. And I know that, but I forget that too. You present.
I just like saying that, because sometimes people get mad about them. Like, listen, this is just, and I know the coaches, there's nothing, if any coach is listening, I know there's nothing they hate more than us asking them to rank the teams preseason, but it really helps us, because they're the ones that are seeing the teams in the summer, and their perspective matters a lot more than ours. So it's a coaches anonymous survey.
I don't. Yeah, they know the rosters. They know, like you said, they've seen them in the summer. They know who's coming up, who's gone. You know, so they're more familiar than even us media guys are.
The one that I'm kind of wondering how much they nailed it, how accurate it is Harrisburg. Are they ready to be the 4th best team in the Commonwealth? I watched them; they get blown out by State College the other night. You know,
now, Joe, they've only played 2 games.
It's early.
Yeah, they played 2 games, 2 losses to Chambersburg and State College.
Yeah.
You have to think their best player. Well, it depends who you tab as their best player. If you think Demir Arp is their best player,
I think Jayon Lewis is their best player.
Yeah, so
I think he's the best athlete in the school.
You'd have to think he's going to get a little. I mean, he's already had a good start this season, but he's just coming off a really physical football season. I imagine after a couple of weeks he'll have a little more pep in his step. I believe they have Reese Brown on their team as well, right, from Trinity.
Yes.
So, you know, if they're ever going to kind of make that bounce back to that path to where they used to be on, this would be a good year to do it, because I would say with all those top Commonwealth programs, a lot of those teams did lose a lot of talent. So there is some room. And they played some of those teams tough last year. I think they played Central Dauphin tough and a couple of
they really did. Yeah.
So, you know, we've seen Demir Art play, and, you know, in terms of pure talent, that kid's as talented as any player in the Mid-Penn. So
he's very talented. Yeah, they have players. And, I will say, in the defense of what you just mentioned about, they call it your basketball legs. They don't have their basketball legs under them. And, and the football players, they really had a long, tough season. And I don't know who else is. I know Arp wasn't a starter. I didn't see him out there a lot, but he still had just as long of a season as anybody else. Jayon Lewis was extensively and intimately involved in.
Well, that's why I'm kind of, being at the Hershey game the other day is I'm always impressed with a guy like Cam Sweeney who he played both ways, played quarterback and defensive back.
He did everything but hand out water during timeouts.
He punted. They didn't make the playoffs like Harrisburg did, but this is, I guess, shift a little at Keystone. But I was talking with Paul Blackburn after the game, and he said, teams are going to be really physical with him, and he's more ready for that this year than he's been last year. But when you're a guy like him who is circled at the top of every scouting report because you're Penn Live Player of the Year, you're All-State player, they're going to get physical with you. And he's just coming off a season where he got hit pretty hard a lot on both sides of football. So always impressed when these football players come out and, right away and are just putting up 20 a game in basketball.
My friend Rick Binder, who coached Steel High to 3 state championship games, his opinion, and you know what? He's one of the brightest guys I've ever met, especially when it came to basketball. He said it takes 6 weeks to fully get your basketball legs under you. And I remember saying, 6 weeks, come on. He's like, Joe, I've been doing this for decades. He's like,
you're halfway through the season.
Yeah, you're halfway through the season, and who am I to question? But anyway, I think Jayon Lewis and Cam Sweeney, they're two of the top multi sport athletes in the area for sure. Okay. So let's move on to the Keystone. Just John, you've been around long enough, probably 5 or 7 or 8 years ago, the Keystone, like 2/3 of the Keystone were like so strong. And Dan, I don't know if you remember that when, the years when, almost all the team had Milton.
Yeah, it was
Milton Hershey. Yeah.
It was McDevitt, Hershey, Mechanicsburg.
Lower Dolphin was really good.
Lower Dolphin and Cedar Cliff was in the Keystone also.
So when I say 2/3, I mean 2/3 of the teams were vying. It doesn't feel that way this year. Dan, is it that way this year? Is there 2 or 3 that Mifflin County is going to be better, right?
Mifflin County is a team that I think a lot of people, I think that they kind of developed a lot. That's another coach that I think no one's going to talk about because they're in, they're all the way in Lewistown. But Wade Curry taking over that program, I think, has done an extraordinary job there. Mm-hmm. His son's a really good player. They've got a lot of, Jack. I think they're going to be a team that is really they can shoot. They've got good size and they're going to be tough. I really like this division actually because I think with the Hershey, they have their best player back and they're the reigning state champs, but they are not quite the same team they were last year. I think that their loss of James Campbell is going to be something they're kind of.
He was good, man.
They really against Mechanicsburg. They really had the battle in the paint for rebounds, and they're still going to have to figure that out in some ways, and because they weren't even they weren't the pick by the coaches to be number 1 in the Keystone division. There's been a ton of buzz about Milton Hershey this year, a ton that they're going to be the team to beat in that division. They played a close game against Palmyra. They were down 0.5 against Palmyra. And then Lower Dolphin, I was talking with Rick Ativo, and he said, we lost all 5 starters, but I really liked our personnel that we have.
They're not going to finish 8th.
No,
Rick Ativo's never finished 8th at anything in his life.
Right now, Lower Dolphin is 2-2 wins over Shippensburg and East Pennsboro. Lost to Hershey, which is a relatively close game, 11 points, and then
there you go.
Barely lost to Cedar Cliff by 2.
And Cedar Cliff's not bad. So they'll be fine. They're not going to be as good as they were a handful of years ago.
And Mechanicsburg is the one that I'm going to be just seeing them against Hershey. I was just really impressed with how Mike Gaffey, because if you talk about a core of kids that kind of carried a program for 4 years, that it's hard to look past that that Mechanicsburg group the last 4 years with Josh Smith, Chance Janowski, and Justin Bardo. And they lost all three of those kids. But Jacob Eager has been really good for them this year.
Yeah.
And they've got some size and some shooting, and Mike Gaffey has them playing hard. So I think
Hershey's really the favorite in the Keystone, right? They're 4-0.
Well, Milton Hershey, the coaches poll. Let's just put it that way.
No, I'm saying Hershey High School.
Yeah, but Milton Hershey, the coaches poll.
That's what I'm saying. Is there's a lot of buzz that people think Milton Hershey is going to be the team to beat.
Okay. Well, I mean, Milton Hershey's lost to McDevitt this year already.
A testament to McDevitt maybe being better than some have thought.
We'll see. For me, it's really hard to bet against a guy like Paul Blackburn when he has a guy like Cam Sweeney. You know, I know they didn't win the division last year, but I still think that team's going to pull out a lot of wins because they just know how to stay attached in games where they're not playing well, and they know how to break games open when they are playing well. And but that Milton Hershey, Khalif Turner is going to be a guy to watch. He opened the season with a 40-point game. And they've got Milton Hershey's big trump card is that they have size. They've got Dylan Crawford and Abdou Dieng in the middle, and not a lot of teams are going to be able to handle that. So I had heard that Milton Hershey was dominating in summer league games, and that's kind of why the coaches picked them. But
Harrisburg area basketball is always better when Milton Hershey's good. It just is. It just really is. So anyway,
Scott Rooney's done another coach that I think has done a great job there, given that whole athletic department has had so many challenges, being kind of a year off. They're basically a year behind every team since COVID, right?
They got affected by COVID more than anybody else. They just shut it down, no questions asked. Nobody was trying to fight to open it back up like they were at Harrisburg. It was just game, set, and match for them.
Yeah, and if you think about it, that's a year of development they lost.
Yeah,
that every other program didn't. Other program had. So I think they're kind of back in that zone. And it always helps when you have a guy like Mark Zerby, who he's not coaching, but he's still obviously a resource there for that entire program.
Yep,
so.
Absolutely.
So Milton Hershey's not playing Hershey until January 14th. That's their first matchup.
Yeah, it's like when the first Red Sox Yankees game's in June or July or something.
And then they meet like another 2 weeks after that. So
you have to remember Milton Hershey came really close last year to beating Hershey in district playoffs. It was like it was a 4-point game, I think. So
we might have some good games between those two this year.
Yeah. I really think that Keystone Division is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
So we will have a weekly, once we get Dave Berman back, we will have a weekly Mifflin County boys basketball watch. We'll have to reel him in a little, John. We can't dedicate too much. Well, you have to. He's a Chester Clipper guy and a Mifflin County Husky.
Chester Clippers just had a big win this last couple days. You see that? They knocked off previously undefeated Muhlenberg.
Oh, okay.
By like 20.
Yeah, I don't know much about
Muhlenberg beat Reading, Governor Mifflin, Methacton, Cedar Crest, and Ben Salem. They were 5-0 before losing to Chester.
Good win for Chester then, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go Capital Division next. Boy, it's so hard to say, it's Trinity and then all the rest. Some years it is that way. Last year it wasn't a whole lot because Susquehanna Township was pretty good. But let's just ask this question, Dan. Who's going to be chomping at Trinity's heels? Anybody? Like consistently throughout the entire season, give them kind of a run for their money?
I mean, I'm pretty bullish on this Bishop McDevitt team. I'm not sure if they're going to be quite that Trinity level. I think what the talking point with Trinity this year is the last few years, they've had Owen, one of the all-time leading scorer at Trinity. That says a heck of a lot. But the depth on this team is going to be pretty crazy this year. They just have so many guards to throw at you, so many talented kids. I think this is the year Andre Steele takes a big step forward.
Love that. I love him. He's a great player.
He's such a great player. Marcus Yeager, who just coming off leading the Mid-Penn in sacks this year in football, headed to Richmond. They let him take a week off or so from basketball, but he's going to be playing this year. They haven't even really had him this year.
He's definitely a football player that also plays basketball, and I've gotten in trouble one year with one of the student athletes in the area that didn't like that I referred to him that way. But he's a very good basketball player.
He's got a little finesse to his game, though. He can also shoot a little bit.
You filled in the blank. You finished my statement.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's not just a grunt. He's really strong. But he can go on runs. I remember last year Kostelak like kind of chewed him out because he wasn't playing well. And he ended up scoring like 8 points in the next, 8 minutes of the game or something like that. And I said, boy, that kid's good. He just turned it on, and he helped his team win that night. So.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the McDevitt team. I think the issue with Big Spring, because I was just talking about Landon Sally, is that they've got a lot of new pieces. They do have a freshman that I know Coach Jason Creek is pretty high on and has had a really good start to the year in Jovan Strine. So he's a guy to keep an eye out for. But it's gonna be very difficult to upend the Rocks again this year. It looks like another really good Trinity team.
Well, we're gonna find out after Tuesday. Trinity and McDevitt meet up.
Yeah, they always play early in the year. It feels like so.
So Trinity is 4-0. They have wins against Allentown Central Catholic, Lancaster Mennonite. Yeah, it's a good win. Lancaster Mennonite, who's solid every year.
Yeah.
Camp Hill and also Susquehanna.
McDevitt
is 3-0. They've beaten Milton Hershey, Susquehanna, and Camp Hill. And like I said, they're playing Trinity this Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean, I think that McDevitt team's really good. They could shoot. When I was talking to Jason Creek, because I reported on kind of the nitty gritty details of how he was let go. You can Google that, but
Jason Grace.
Yeah, Jason Grace. Not Jason Creek. Sorry, Jason Grace. About how he was
Jason Creek has not been let go, by the way. He's a Big Spring. Go ahead, Dan.
But when I was talking to him, he said, "Listen, regardless of all of this, that he just told me he's like, I have no stake in this anymore besides really liking the kids. I think that team's gonna be really, really good this year."
That's a great thing for him to say.
And he said he's gonna be rooting for them, but they've got a lot of their kids that have been kind of growing up in that program, and then the addition of Kenyon Porty Jr. is going to be big for them. So
Shout out to Vinny Gambalungi, assistant coach on McDevitt's basketball team.
Absolutely. Yep. I think Susquehanna Township, they lost kind of like 50% of their major production last year. They to graduation, Alfonso Burnett and Travis Turner. But they do have Makai Slappy and Jakai Sloan Marks back. That's two really good players.
And they were really optimistic about some of the size they were adding too. Like they added some centers, some big men. That if you add them with Sloan Marks, who is like 6'4", but more of a wing player,
right?
There's no reason that obviously those are two tough games early in the season, but I would imagine they kind of bounce back a little bit as the season goes.
Hannah's 1-3. I mean, they've played three really tough teams: Trinity, Carlisle, and Hempfield. Carlisle and Hempfield are 6A, right? Yeah. So I mean, they've beaten Big Springs by like 20. So
I think Big Spring's a team that if somebody's going to knock off a better team on a given night, let's just say it would be or could be Big Spring and Coach Jason Creek. Of course, we talked about Landon Sally. Dan, I think that Nathan Baranowski, he's the big kid that was out for a while last year with the knee injury or leg injury, right?
Yeah, but I think he's a baseball player as well.
Yeah, that's a good returning player. I think he's more like a 4, he's like a power forward, a rebound guy, glass guy. But so anyway, the more things change, the more they stay the same when it comes to Trinity. They lost two of their best players, to a graduation and a transfer, but they're still really good. So they're always really good. And then the last one is the Colonial.
This one's kind of the big question mark division, I think.
We talked to Coach Savercool, and he was chosen by his peers to finish third Northern. Waynesboro was picked number 1. I think Northern beat them already, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I think that I'm not going to reveal the results of this, but this was the most varied poll by poll survey. I just don't think a lot of the teams had people had great feels of this division. I will say that Waynesboro team brought a lot of players back. They've got some continuity, and Tom Hoffman's a very good coach down there with the Indians. They're always tough to play against. They've got a sophomore point guard, a sophomore junior, Carter Huff. Their quarterback in football, Rayshon Frazier-Hewitt's probably their top scorer, and they've got a big man, Nate Nystrom. But they've already dropped the game to Northern. So
I think Middletown must have lost everybody but the ball girl because they lost a lot of players in graduation.
It looks like Greencastle might be the team to beat there in the Colonial, Dan. They lost by 1 point to Mechanicsburg.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've won their other 3 games against James Buchanan. They crushed Middletown, like Joe said, and then they crushed Northern York.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that Greencastle just 2 years ago won the division, was in the Mid-Penn champion. They're a boys basketball program that has these weird, crazy like ebbs and flows where they just have these runs where they're really good, and then they have these runs where they're 4-14, 4-15. I guess that's kind of the lot in life. Sometimes there's some of these programs that aren't as big when you're kind of in little further away areas, but Todd Stevens has them playing really well. Couple returning solid. Alex Albright's kind of their top player. But they're a team that's been in states recently that won the division under Todd Stevens. So I didn't peg them to be one of the top teams, but they look like it so far this year.
Yeah. So that should be an interesting division for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything good for the cause before we wrap up here?
Joe, when we get Dave Berman on next week, we want to discuss that player we spoke about, Colton Hiller from Coatesville, class of 2028, number 3 sophomore in the country, number 1 sophomore in Pennsylvania.
I watched him play. Dan, did you ever see him play?
Yeah, at the Cumberland Valley game. You know who his brother is, though, right?
He's a football player.
His brother's a 5-star offensive tackle on the football.
Okay.
So they're probably the best brother duo in terms of recruiting in the entire country. Because the kid's got Alabama, Ohio State, every offer for offensive tackle. And he plays basketball too. He was on the basketball team. So.
Yeah, he's huge.
And Bonner Prendergast handed it to Coatesville yesterday, beat him by 20. This is interesting. Monsignor Bonner, Archbishop Prendergast, Bonner Prendy, they beat Cumberland Valley by 27, Coatesville by 27, and beat Central Dauphin by 4 in overtime.
Wow.
And I think the most impressive game Central Dolphins played this year is a loss.
Probably.
That happens a lot early in the season. I feel like you learn more from the losses than you the wins.
Right, exactly. So, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. John, good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, we'll have a good season this year. Good shows.
Dan, I will be in touch. All right.
All right. See you guys around.
Thank you to Coach Savercool. We appreciate it. And everybody have a great evening.
See you.
Good night.